What today's YouTube is really about is about some of the best ways you can use photography to help your composite work using the select and mask. So here, the first thing I want to look at is, well, what are my backgrounds? So in this case, I'll show you some of the things to look out for when you're looking to take a photograph of a model in studio and put them into a more high-key lighting scenario such as this. And I'll also show you what to look out for if you're taking photographs of a model and looking to put them in a more low-key scenario such as this. And the idea is that you're looking to create continuity between the lighting that you're using on your model and trying to get that to emulate what's happening in that particular scene. And then from there, the adjustments that you need to make in Photoshop will be, not quite as drastic in order to get things to match up. And the other thing you need to take into consideration is that the tonality of the background versus the tonality of the background that you're shooting your model against. That's important. It used to be with the select and mask back when it was called refine edge that a light gray background seemed to work pretty well for most things, but I'd contend that it really depends upon the tonality of the background you're looking to composite into. That is going to dictate quite a bit of what you're going to do. So let's hop into the studio here. Right now what I've got set up is generally a high-key lighting scenario, except that she's against a dark background. I've got my softbox set up here with some fill, and the fill is metered in at about one stop below the key exposure, shooting at about f8, f9. And I shoot her on black, and you can see here, as far as the quality of the light that's falling on her would fall into that high-key zone, but the background is black. In this scenario, I switch out the black and I set her up on a white background. So same deal, now I've introduced a light on this white background, and you can see here, I look at it and I say, well, it's a little dark. I need to bring up my fill light a bit, and I need to adjust my background light so it's a little brighter too, because we're looking to get that white background pretty white. I don't want it to fall into some dark grays, particularly behind her head. If I'm looking to move this shot into the shot out in the field with the tree, with the sort of blown out sky, I want to make sure that I'm shooting her against white in this scenario. And you'll see when I get into Photoshop the trouble you can run into if you're photographing on other tones. And so you see here's the update, a little more fill light on her, and the background's looking a little brighter. Now in this one I wanted to show you that we have this scale of 0 to 255, and the 0 being pure black, there's no detail in the channels, red, green, and blue, if you have 0 in all three. And 255, conversely, would be totally blown out. There's no detail. It's blown out white. 255 in the red, green, and blue. 128, of course, would be your middle gray. Now, the problem with that is, it's nice when we can get our white backgrounds reading in these programs 255. Mind you, if you're tethering and using Lightroom, that's going to be that 0 to 100 scale, as opposed to a 0 to 255. The thing with 255 is that once it reaches 255, we know it's blown out white, but we don't know, unless we've metered that light carefully, how much further beyond 255 we've gone. It's possible we could be 2 or 3 stops brighter than that brightest point, in which case what can happen is you can start running into blowing out, it reflects off of that white background and it starts to blow out the back of the model, and in some cases flare the lens as well. So you'll see here a before, after. There's before and now flare. So I deliberately brought the exposure of my background up beyond that 255 so that you could really see this in effect, how the light then is reflecting off of that white background, blowing past her and into the lens, getting all this flare. It kind of creates this sort of ashy look, if I were to show you here, and if I were to, so there's the before, right? And then there's after. There's kind of this ashy sort of sense. There isn't a lot of contrast happening, and it washes it out. So the idea here being, if I hit play here, you'll see my cursor drops into the white area here. You can see it right here. And it's reading this 255. That's all well and good if I'm deliberately bringing it up to the 255 point and my model is far enough away from that white background that the reflection off of that white background isn't going to blow her out and the detail in her hair or flare the lens. But I wanted to show you that if you're not careful and you just light your background super bright, it could be so bright that it's flaring back at the lens, and you want to be careful of that. You could certainly use some of that technique creatively, deliberately flaring the lens. It's just something to be aware of from a technical standpoint if you're looking to maintain detail in the hair, that you'll want to light your white background right up to the point of 255, no further than that really. Great, so now that we've got the photograph of Quinn, we're gonna be getting her into this scene. I'm gonna just minimize that for now, and I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna open up a shot of her from that. And we'll first open up the one of Quinn on this black background, and we'll work with that. So here's Quinn, and I'm gonna come in here, and I need to get a selection of her, so I'm gonna go ahead and use my quick select brush. Now, quite a bit of my Photoshop here, I'm gonna just go into speed edit, but when I get to the select and mask tool, I'll slow it down and we'll talk. But have a little listen to some soothing music while we watch the speed edit so that you're not bored to death watching me Photoshop. All right, so now we're at the select and mask portion. A couple quick things. When I'm working with hair, you know, I just know that I'm not going to be able to get all of it. I'm not going to be able to get every single strand of wispy hair that's flying out. I'm generally, you know, looking to get as much as I can, you know, depending upon the concept. And, you know, obviously we don't have a hair and makeup stylist with me on this particular shoot. This is just a demo purpose only. It's not like an advertising or fashion shoot or something. But, you know, that being said, you know, I'd be looking to, of course, have that addressed by a hair and makeup person, a hairstylist, and, you know, address some of those issues. But for the purposes of seeing this particular utility, the select and mask, what I'm looking to do is I don't want my loose selection to cut into that hair. I want it to kind of envelop it on the outside edge. So it'll give me the best results, because what the select and mask refine edge brush is going to do is it's looking to put transparency between these contrasting areas, the hair and the background. So I'm going to take it into select and mask now. I'm shooting on black. We'll go ahead and view this on white. That can be helpful to view it on the opposite. And I'm going to grab the refine edge brush over here. And when I'm working with this particular tool, often what I like to do is try to find a brush that is about the size of where one edge of it is starting to cut into the real opaque portions of the hair, where we're not seeing through to the background, and then the other edge of the brush to kind of just be barely overlapping into this region here. And so, you know, crank this down. Something like this could work pretty well. And I'm going to go ahead and paint in this area, basically telling Photoshop, okay, this area in the hair, we're looking to create some transparency in here between where the hair is and this background. And as I'm working with this, you know, I'm trying to paint some of this weird gray stuff away. And you know, it's obviously we begin having to really paint in there on her hair to get some of that weird gray bits to go away. And get as far as we can take it, and we come down here to the output settings and choose layer mask, right? So it kicks out a layer mask of this for us, which is nice, which will allow me to come down here to my window and grab my image here that I'm looking to drop her into, and I'll pick her up and drop her into this scene. I'll have to transform her down a ways here. Something like so. So, you know, she's out in this field, let's say. That's the sort of beginnings of my composite that I'm working with here. Now, let's go take a look at this mask that, ugh. I don't know about you, but it doesn't look so good, right? So it's vitally important that we consider the tonality of the background when determining how we're going to light the subject. So you can see here, photographing her in this pose on black is causing me quite a bit of problems. And the reason for this is that at the end of the day, what's happening is we're getting black pixels around the strands of hair. And for Photoshop to be able to separate her hair in a realistic way off of a black background and then put her against a white background, I'm sorry, but you know, it's not going to be a fun job. Now, is it impossible? It's not, but it A, will take a long time, and B, will cost a lot of money. And C, most importantly, it won't look that good in the end anyhow. So why bother spending the money and the time if it's not going to look that great? Photograph it right the first time around and you won't have this problem. So let's take a look at that. I'm going to go ahead and just get her to go away. And we're going to close this out. Don't need that open. And I'm going to go open up the other image of her that we've got. And then we'll go into the speed edit here. Boom, that was a lot faster. She's photographed against, some pretty clean white, particularly around her head for this particular composite. I knew that, if I was really going to be very critical about it, I'd have strobes left and right of my white seamless and make sure that the entire corner to corner was all the same f-stop tonality. Then I'd have nice pure white, but knowing that the lower half of her was going to be pretty easy to select out compared to the hair portion of her, I'm making sure that that part is reading at my nice 255, but not brighter than that, because she has still nice detail in the hair. But as far as making a selection with the quick selection tool, much faster than trying to deal with that more contrasty black background that's in the way. So now we get into select and mask. And I'm going to go ahead and view this instead on black, the opposite of what we were working with. And I'm going to get that refine edge brush and make a little adjustment to the size of the brush, and then I can begin to paint in here. Boom, we pump out a layer mask just like before. Go ahead and pick her up and drag her into the scene here. Go ahead and transform her like so. Excellent. Now let's take a look at that mask. That's a much more realistic, believable hair mask than photographing her against black. So the moral of the story of this one is, well, she's going to be going up against bright sky. Photograph her against something bright as well, so that the pixels that envelop her hair and the outside edge of her are of the same quality and tonality. You don't want dark pixels going up against her hair if she's going to be composited against a scene that's really bright. Now, insofar as the fringe that might be left over, this sort of thing is pretty easy to deal with. Not worrying so much about her hair, but I can come in on something like this, and I can just make a loose selection around the whole area right here that seems to have some fringe, and I can click on the mask itself. I'll zoom in so you can see this. You can see where the fringe begins to appear in here, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to blur the mask. Just in that selected area, though, is all I'm really worried about. So you can see before, and I'll give it a little bit of blur like that. 3 pixels or so, probably good. And I click OK, and that way when I come and I use a paintbrush in overlay mode, I can paint black up against that, and it gets rid of that fringe. So whoosh, just like so. I can use the overlay brush, and I can use it to paint black up against the fringe here. Go ahead and deselect for now. Getting rid of that white fringe in my composite, which is something that comes up frequently. And of course, any fringe that's along her shoulder here, I could certainly get rid of whatever might be there. But it's not something that's apparent because of what it's composited up against. So you can see if we were to compare the two, here's Quinn in this environment versus photographed against white or masked out photographed against a darker color. So even if you're going like gray, obviously black or really, really dark gray, definitely not going to work. Any other kind of gray, it's still going to place some gray pixels in there, which could be problematic for you. So really be cognizant of, well, what's my background? Where am I putting this particular person in this particular composite? So then I wanted to do another setup here. And in this case, I've got a strip light up above with a blue gel on it, and I've got a softbox off to the side. I'm photographing her against white. And I got her just another pose situation happening here. A little bit of flare happening, so you can see me in this scene using my hand to block some of the flare that's coming from that strip box. And now I'm photographing her against black. The background light is not operating, it's just those other two lights. And in this case, you can see the blue is creating a little bit of this sort of like backlit action on her hair, and that's what I'm after with this particular shot. I want some of that for this, as well as almost this kind of, you know, this Rembrandt lighting situation, like lighting's coming in from slightly behind her, because this is the image that I'm looking to put her into, where we've got quite a bit of blue light coming in from behind her, as well as this like orange light that's happening. So let's give this a shot. Great, we've got her generally selected now, and I'm going to go ahead and drop into select and mask. I'm going to view it on black, and I'm going to use the refine edge brush to take care of some of these bits, and for this we'll go into another speed edit. Great, we do the best we can with that. Refine edge and pump out a layer mask, and we drop her and her layer mask into this new scene. As you can imagine, let's say we've had her out here sort of emulating as if she was out here and being photographed by strobe light out in this scene. And you can see here that, as we would expect, photographed against white is leaving a lot of white information around her hairs. So we're going to do the next edit. So what are we going to do? We're going to grab her, this low key, and we're going to make sure that she's shot against black for this sort of thing. And image calculations, I'm going to blend red to blue, darker color mode. You can see that has a very nice effect right off the bat. Speed edit begins now. All right, so we've got her selected, and we can take that into select and mask, and we can view her, boom, against white. Things are looking pretty good right off the bat because those channel selections are pretty tight. Look at that, huh? Pretty tight. There might be a little bit of action to be had in here, and in here, and down in here. Spots that were harder to get to with the channel, but this refine edge brush does such a great job with some of those little zones. Great, pump out a layer mask, bim bam boom. Okay, now we've got ourselves her on this layer mask, photographed against black, which if you've been watching so far, you would probably assume correctly that it's gonna work out better than the previous. Get her up into this scene, figure out compositionally, maybe something like that would be nice. There we go. Now let's take a look. Zoom right in. Now look at that. So photographed against black, the blend into these darker tones is much nicer. We don't have any of that weird stray, so it's a much more realistic kind of blend in the composite. So ultimately what we're getting at here is that if you're looking to composite somebody into a particular background, start there. Start with your background and determine the brightness level of it. If it's very bright, then you're going to want to photograph your person or what have you that you're photographing against something that's also very bright, of a similar brightness. And if you're photographing somebody against something very dark, photographing them against black or a gray or dark gray would be of benefit to you. So basically, you know, you're looking to match the lighting continuity as well as the tonality of the background in the photography studio if you're looking to then bring them into another scene. If you like this video, hit the thumbs up. If you didn't like this video, hit the thumbs down. Feel free to leave a comment down below. We'll get back to you. Thanks to Canon and B&H for providing some of the equipment for making these videos possible. If you'd like to subscribe to this channel, hit that little button up there or the button down there. Hit that little bell. It'll notify you of other videos. Thanks for watching.